whenever you're ready to go.
Start my
Um,
watch.
yeah, go for
Okay.
it.
All right. Hi. Yeah. So thanks for being here. And as you heard, I grew up playing multiple sports: basketball, soccer, softball. And my coaches really instilled in me a love of the game and just a passion for sports and a winning mentality. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But what I really took away from playing sports growing up is having fun. I loved to compete and play and have fun, and I have lots of fun memories. One memory that I have is when I was 12 years old, we were at a soccer tournament. It was an absolute downpour, and we were afraid that they were going to cancel the game, and the coach went out to the grocery store and bought a big box of trash bags. And he convinced the referee to let us wear the trash bags. We had masking tape numbers on our trash bags, and our arms, we stuck our arms out and our head through it. And I saved that trash bag until my mom made me throw it away. And it was just one of my most favorite memories of playing sports. And the coach said, "So what? It's raining. We're still going to play." So I'd just like to hear from some of you about what some fun memories you have of playing sports, and remember about your coaches. So who'd like to share?
Well,
Kelly.
oh,
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Ruben.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead, Kelly.
one of the highlights, I remember one of the highlights of my high school lacrosse playing was that lacrosse season always went over Easter break.
Mm-hmm.
And so we always had practice on spring break when everyone else had off. But the highlight of it was like the day before Easter, we would always do like all the things you could do in lacrosse, but we did it with eggs. So we would do like, tossing to a partner with an egg and shooting on goal we went through a lot of eggs. We lived in a farm
Yeah.
community, so we had lots of eggs.
Okay.
But and we had Easter egg hunts, and you had to scoop up the ground balls with your stick. And I just remember that was a huge highlight, was always like egg day right before Easter, which was always really fun.
Yeah, sounds like it. It sounds like a good idea, although very messy.
Yes, it was. That was the best part.
All right. Thanks. Ruben, did you want to say what one of your fun memories is?
yeah, I remember, playing on these teams at the local boys club, and we'd pile into this yellow van, beat up old yellow van to drive across town, or sometimes to the next town over, and that was one of the fun parts for me. It was just the road trips with the other boys.
Yeah, that's one of the things that was a lot of fun for me too, was playing with other players and traveling with friends and staying overnight sometimes, and just the camaraderie that comes from playing sports. And so, as I mentioned, my coach instilled a lot of these things in me, and it made it fun. And he also, not just the one, I'm thinking of one in particular, that's why I said he, but one of my coaches really talked about winning, and how he had a winning mentality. So it wasn't just about having fun, but it was also about winning. And at the Positive Coaching Alliance, and you'll hear me refer to it as PCA throughout this presentation, is Positive Coaching Alliance believes and teaches us to be double goal coaches. So, you've all got a copy of this book, The Power of Double Goal Coaching, and it's an excellent resource. I invite you to read it backwards and forwards, and just keep it in your bag, because it has lots of awesome ideas in there, and it's both research-based and performance-based methodology. And the idea is that we're here as coaches to teach players to succeed in life and to win on the scoreboard too. And playing and having fun is one thing, but there's all these life lessons that we get out of sports. And the way I look at it is it's a holistic approach, where you're getting self-confidence, you're getting teamwork and leadership. And so, I've said just a little bit about that. Now I just want to give you guys an opportunity. I want to just hear what you're thinking about right now when I say things like Positive Coaching Alliance. What do you think of when you hear positive, or it's not all about winning? So what are some of the first things that come to mind for you? So who'd like to say that?
I'm picturing just a lot of fluff and fun. Not real hardcore. Just somebody that really enjoys, just a team that would be fun to be on.
Yeah, I totally get that. I had a team manager like that gave my U9 team, we had a season-ending pizza party, and she showed up with a big box of trophies. And I was flabbergasted, because we'd only won one game the whole season, and that's really not what it's about. Now, it is about getting trophies, but it's also not about everybody getting a trophy. So it's positive isn't just fluff. And we'll talk more about that. Ruben, do you have anything for you?
Well, I just wonder if you know what kind of emphasis is going to be placed on competition, or de-emphasis is going to be placed on competition.
Yeah, so the Positive Coaching Alliance doesn't really emphasize or de-emphasize. It's a two-pronged approach, right? It's not like, oh, well, we're not going to now focus on winning and we're not going to focus. No, we want you to keep score. We want you to be competitive, while at the same time being good sports and good athletes and working together. So they both go hand in hand. It's not winning at all costs like it is in the professionals. It's not winning without development, and it's not development without winning. Okay, so I want to just talk about one of the principles that the Positive Coaching Alliance has established, and that is honoring the game. I'm going to show you this picture, and I just want to know, does anybody recognize this picture, and what do you know about it?
That's the girl who hit the ball over the fence, but she got hurt, and the other team actually ended up helping her around the bases.
Yeah, exactly, and the video went viral. It received an award from ESPN on the ESPYs. Anything else? Kelly, do you know anything else about this video?
I've never seen it before. I'm not really familiar with it.
No? Okay. All right, great. So I'm just going to show you this video, and you'll get to learn all about it. All right. So what did you think of the video? What kind of an impact did it have on you?
I liked it. It was great. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I can't believe that girl did that at her young age, that thought ahead to do that.
Yeah, and so as a coach, what could you do in a situation like this? Let's say you were the coach of the team that carried that girl around the bases. What would you say about that?
I'd be really proud.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to me that the players, they did and said what needed to be said. So I don't know that I would really interfere or get involved. I like Kelly, I would be very proud of my players, and I would let them know that I was proud of them.
Yeah, and why would you be proud of the players for doing something like this? Because some coaches may be like, well, we could have, that run would have made a difference. We could have, done without that run, or depending on which team you're on, there's different ways to look at it.
I'm proud. I guess I'd be proud of them because they had the ability. Even though I know that those girls wanted to win, and they're competitive, and yet in that moment they thought that there was something bigger than that, and and they thought that they wanted to do what they thought was the right thing, even if it would put them at a competitive disadvantage.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Ruben. And that leads into what the PCA refers to as roots. It's all about getting to the root of positive competition. So you can still be competitive and want to win the game, but then look out for this other player. And it's about respect in 5 key areas. So roots is an acronym that stands for rules, opponents, officials, teammates, and self. So I want to just take a few minutes and just talk about what each of these stands for. So rules, why do we have rules? What would be the purpose of having rules?
Keep it fair.
Yeah, fair. What else? Just shout them out.
Structure.
Structure.
Safety.
Yep. Structure, fairness, safety. Awesome. All really good reasons to have rules, right? And got to know how to play the game, and we talk about winning. Well, how do I win the game? You got to have the rules. So in order to respect the rules, there's different things we can look at. We talk about being good sports, but when you look at the rules and with respect to rules, there's also times you can bend the rules in the game, and you can get away with things. And I know in soccer, as a soccer coach, I know if a ball goes off of one of my players and the referee is blocked and doesn't see it, and my player, and then he calls it in our favor, we could easily just pick up the ball and throw it back in, and nobody would know any different, except maybe the other team might say something if they saw it. But so what are some, I want to hear from you, from some of you, what are some examples in your sport of how you could actually bend the rules and try and get away with something?
I played field hockey, and in field hockey, if the ball ever hits your feet, it's supposed to be automatically a foul and given to the other player. But there's so many times when it's just a scramble and there's people everywhere, and the ball's constantly being hit off of people's feet, or the other opponent will try to purposely hit it off of an opponent's feet to get the ball to go out so that they get possession. So it's something a lot of refs don't see.
Yeah, I could see that. It's kind of almost like a handball in soccer, but I could see it be much harder to see in field hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Ruben, anything for you in your sport?
Yeah, in volleyball, there's a lot of stalling that is done. Like, let's say your team is out of timeouts, but you want to slow down the momentum. At the end of a rally, a player will get the official's attention and go grab the towel off the net and go to wipe up an imaginary wet spot, even though there's not really a wet spot there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, I got that. Okay, so we know there's lots of ways we can bend the rules, but what we want to do is we want to create a culture so that we respect the rules, because there's many opportunities to bend rules and break rules in all of our sports. The next one is opponents, and the one thing I really just want to say about opponents is they're not the enemy. While everyone loves a good rivalry, I love rivalries. In fact, especially when I'm playing a team that I just lost to and I'm playing them again, I want to go out there and beat them. But one thing I want to say is about opponents is just really honoring them and respecting them, because without opponents, then who are we going to play? We're just going to play ourselves all the time. But the one thing I want to hear from you about is I want to now talk about officials. So, have any of your officials ever made a mistake in your games?
Yes.
Yeah, and then what did you do, or what did you say? How did you react?
Well, sometimes I get mad.
Yeah, sometimes you get mad. And why do officials make mistakes? Is it because they don't like you, or they don't like us as coaches?
Sometimes I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. The one thing, especially if we're coaching youth sports, a lot of the officials are also kids or teenagers. So they're more apt to make mistakes. I mean, as adults, we all make mistakes too. But one thing that I always say to my team's parents is, listen, this is somebody's son, this is somebody's daughter out there officiating the game. Would you want a parent or a coach yelling at your kids or reacting the way that some of these coaches or some of you are reacting in the games? And we're all human beings, and there's just so many opportunities for us to yell at the referees, but there's also just as many opportunities for us to be great role models and demonstrate how we want to respond to the officials making mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. Okay? So the next one is teammates, and really respecting teammates. So how can we make sure that our teammates they respect each other? How would you put that in with your teams?
Well, I think making sure that they understand that we're not all the same. We have different experience and different strengths and weaknesses, and that part of being a team is that you accept your teammates for where they are as a player, and try to help them be the best they can be and help them enjoy the experience.
Yeah, really great, Ruben. I especially just want to, what I hear in there too is especially if your teammate makes a mistake, you should be the one there to pick them up. You should be the one there to help them rather than yell at them. I know with my team, anytime we'd be on the field and someone makes a mistake, they pick each other up. And when the other team starts yelling at each other for making mistakes, we know we now have the competitive edge. We have an advantage because the other team is now basically beating themselves. And then the last one is self. It's really doing the right thing when nobody else is watching, and even if nobody else is doing the right thing. It's really just respect for oneself. And this doesn't really happen in a vacuum. You know, you don't just say, all right, we're going to honor the game here. You actually have to create this. You have to create an environment for it. And PCA refers to culture as the way we do things here. I started coaching a high school soccer team in 2004. And when I came in, I had to create the culture. I had to establish how it was going to look. And one thing for me is I created a family environment. When I got there, there had been a lot of hazing. Nothing dangerous, just more of the upperclassmen, lowerclassmen kind of stuff. Like freshmen carry the equipment, freshmen sit here on the bus, freshmen get last in line for pizza, freshmen, you do this. It was always bossing around the underclassmen. And what I said to my players was, listen, that's not how we do things here. We're going to be a family on the field and off the field. And 4 years later, one of my players was a senior. And, you know, she had started out with me right at the beginning. And she got a call after school, right before we were about to get on the practice field, that she had to go over to the hospital. Her dad had been very sick. She had to go to the hospital because this was pretty much the end for him. And she had to say goodbye to him. And it was very sad for her. And I wasn't sure whether I should announce this to the team because I didn't want to upset them, but I needed to tell them where she was. And they all knew her dad had been sick. So what they decided was, they really wanted to do something for Taylor. And so they actually formed themselves in the shape of a heart on the field and took a picture of it. And then they made a T in the middle for Taylor. And I actually have it right here. And I'm going to pass it around to you so you can look at it. The picture, because when she graduated, her parents had me over for dinner. And they handed me this picture. And I even get moved now just reading it. It just says, Danielle, thanks for all your support and encouragement over the years. Needless to say, you'll be forever in our hearts. The Mallory family. And the really cool thing about it is that their last name is Mallory and the girl's name is Mallory from the softball video. Mm-hmm. So we really created a culture of family with that team. And there were many, many other examples of that being evidence. So what I'd like you to do now for the next 5 minutes is get into groups of 3 to 5, and I'd like you to discuss how you would create a culture for a new team, or what is the culture that you have on your teams. And then I'd just like one person from each group to summarize your ideas to share with everyone. Okay, well, welcome back. Your time is up. So I'd just like to hear from one of you right now, what's some ideas that your group came up with on how you could create a culture?
Well, I think you can do it by talking to your players about the expectations and the way we're going to do things here. And I mean, not all at once, but you know, you talk to your players periodically, and you come back to certain values and themes over and over throughout the course of a season.
Yeah, excellent, really great. And another part, that's the one side of it. The other side of it is modeling it yourself. And so I want to direct you now to the Honor the Game toolkit. And one thing that's really critical is coming up with a self-control routine. So there's going to be times when you get upset about a call that the referee has made. You get upset with your players or what have you. And so there's in the toolkit, in the chapter that starts on page 46 in the book, you can see that there are some ideas about how you can control yourself. For me personally, if I'm sitting down, I get up and walk away. If I'm standing, I go somewhere else and sit down. And so I want you to start to speculate on some ideas of like what are some things that you could do. And let's just shout out, I just want to hear just 2 right now. 2 things you could do in those moments where you are about to lose your mind.
Get a drink.
Get a drink. Good. One more?
Talk to your assistant coach.
Yeah, great. Really great. Okay, there's more ideas in the book, and we can also talk to each other about some other ideas that we have. And really, before we move on, I want to pass a message on to you from the PCA founder and executive director, Jim Thompson. He says, if you coach long enough, you will find yourself faced with your own big Mallory moment opportunity, maybe even more than once. But for sure, coaching provides a never-ending sequence of smaller Mallory moment opportunities. My challenge to you is, by your actions, time and again, in those moments, to elevate the game the way Mallory Holtman did. And just like I had my Mallory moment with Taylor Mallory, I'd love for you to go out and create your Mallory moments. I know my time's up because I have my watch in front of me.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Very smooth, Danielle. That was nice.
Thank you.
And was that is that the end of the honoring the game section right there?
It actually is the end of the honoring.
Yeah.
The game.
Wow. What great timing and pacing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Very well done. All right, it's so cool because we watch so many of these. I forget whose stories are whose. So when I heard that again, I'm like, that's right. That was the Taylor story. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I always say, like, sometimes I'm in a workshop and I'm like, yeah, somebody had this story, and it's really, I really can't remember who it was, but you know, that's a story that sticks. That's a story I'll remember. I thought you did great. As I said, timing-wise, you did a fantastic job. I love the way you really have. I said this last night. Ruben's gonna laugh, but sometimes you go to a workshop and you feel like you're being educated by a teacher, and I just get this feeling from you that I'm being coached. And you have that personality, I think, that I feel like, all right, here we go. We're going to get down to business. This is what we're going to talk about.
Right.
I like the conversations. I did put as a comment in the beginning that, you know, I'd love to hear how you would get more people involved, because repetitively just saying, somebody give me an idea, somebody give me an answer, you know, you're still only going to get one person to share. So I'd like to hear a couple more ideas on how you could get more voices going or more thoughts jumping around the room.
Sure.
With Ruben, you know, with Ruben and I, it's kind of hard, but I think that's just one of the suggestions I have, because sometimes you'll ask a question and there'll be this long silence because you just asked a question before, or else you get the same person in the front row always raising their hand, and you feel bad sometimes saying, okay, I don't want to hear from you. I want to hear from someone else this time. So just some other ways to get people thinking. I wrote down a couple quotes I liked. You know, winning without development or development without winning. That's another. I call that a sticky phrase. That's something that would stay with me. And I like the way you said that. That's not what we're about. I still love starting the workshop off with fun memories of coaching. I think it would be. I think maybe you said it the last time, but you might have missed it this time. Just talking about, like, why is that important? You had us think and share of our ideas, but how would you relate that to the workshop? And you did relate it to your coach. You know, those were the fondest memories that you have. But I was thinking about, you know, something in terms of the fun memories that you have. That's the coach that's influential. That's the coach that you remember, or something like that. Somehow to connect it to, you know, the opening of the workshop a little bit more. The only other suggestion I have, if you have a smaller group of coaches, whenever I do like group work, not whenever I shouldn't say, but sometimes an idea, if you have them like talk about how to create a culture, I think that's really like a brainstorming kind of a session instead of like a story. Like sometimes when they get in the groups, they're sharing stories. You're actually having them brainstorm ideas. So I have the huge sticky note papers, and if I'm going to split them up into groups of 4, I'll give each group a sticky note, and then that's a really awesome resource to leave behind with the partner. Is here's some ideas that your coaches said on how they can create a culture. Right. So anytime there's idea flowing like that, I think it's a good idea to have somewhere where it's written down, and then you can kind of have that as a resource. But you know, I thought it was fantastic. My other suggestion, sorry to keep suggesting, but now I'm on to suggesting instead of critiquing. I would scan your Taylor Mallory picture, and put it right on a slide so that everybody can see it. Because I think that would be really cool. I mean, passing it around is cool too because they can see it, but I think it'd be neat to have that up on a slide. I would definitely insert that in.
Okay, yeah, I'll put that up there. And I do have those giant Post-it notes, and I've brought them into different things that I've done with teams where they brainstorm, and they love them. First they're like, oh my gosh, is that like the biggest sticky note ever? Yes. I know. They're my favorite thing. I used to leave little sticky notes all over my house, and now I leave great big ones. And my kids are like, Mom, I get it. Stop. Yeah. Ruben, did you want to give Danielle some feedback?
Sure. Danielle, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very strong again. I mean, you know, just very strong again, in my opinion. And yeah, I liked a lot of things. I like your trash bag story. I like how at the beginning of the workshop you position the book as a resource. You introduce the book and position it right off the bat. I love the way you ask questions. And I think what Kelly mentioned about creating your own variety in how people discuss one of your questions. I think that's a helpful suggestion that'll help take your workshop to another level.
Yep.
Yeah, and like with the Mallory video, for example, you asked us questions before it, leading into it, like what do you know about this? What do you reckon? And then you asked us for a reaction to it afterwards. I like the Taylor anecdote a lot. I like the photo. I think people will really like that. And it's the way you tied it into the culture you were creating. I like the fact that not only are you willing to read the quote, but that you read it with conviction and articulate. You're very comfortable reading quote. It sounds like you're either a very good reader or you practice it. You knew the quote. You knew the phrasing. And I appreciate that because not all trainers want to read that quote. I don't know why. Some trainers are uncomfortable reading to the group, so I appreciate that. And then the last positive before I mention a couple of ideas is I love it when a trainer smiles when they're leading a workshop, and you flash your smile. You flash it periodically. It's a beautiful smile. It's inviting. And it shows us that you're having fun and you're enjoying this, and it helps us to enjoy it too. You bring us along, so yeah.
It seems like a small thing, but you'd be surprised how many people don't smile when they're doing. I mean, people always laugh when we point that out, but it's really obvious when people don't smile. It's crazy.
Yeah, I get that, and that's one thing. I learned that. I think I was probably in high school when my dad pointed that out to me. He said, you got to smile in everything, in presentations. I don't know, I was practicing for something, and he says, you got to smile more. Take advantage of that. I said, okay. And I've never forgotten it, so it stayed with me. But yeah, thank you.
Kelly, do I have time for three brief ideas?
Yep.
Okay, one of them is with roots. When you talk about roots, think about introducing the word respect immediately. That roots does stand for rules, opponents, etc. But what we're talking about is respect for these 5 things.
Got it.
You used the word later as you went through each one, but I think right off the bat the word respect should be part of that. Okay. With your group exercise on culture and the instructions you gave us, think about being more specific with those instructions and give us one assignment or the other. Don't give us choices. So I was a little confused. You said get into a group, and I want you to talk about how you would create a culture, or what kind of culture you have. So I think I had a choice of either way I could take, but
right.
Tell us one or the other, and I think people, the more specific the instructions you can give people on that type of stuff, the better.
Okay.
Like even stuff like, okay, go, start now. And then the last idea is when you asked me a question early in the workshop. What do you think of when you hear Positive Coaching Alliance? And Kelly responded, and then I said, well, I'm not sure how, what it means for competition, and the response you gave me was good, and it communicated to me that PCA is not anti-competition.
Right.
I think to be even stronger, you could immediately have responded to me with something like this: let me be clear, PCA embraces competition. And then go on to say whatever you're going to do, but jump on the opportunity to state flat out, PCA embraces competition.
Yeah, the one thing I just realized that I forgot to say was that I like to win, and I don't know how I forgot that because
you did. You said it last time. You said it last time.
But everyone that knows me, like they actually. Everything about me they say is winning. They're like, oh, you have winning hair today. Oh, you're winning. And I'm not just talking about on the soccer field. I'm talking about, I coach a leadership program, and I walk in, there, and they're like, "Oh, the winner is here." It's just so funny because it's just like it's part of the fabric of me. And then I didn't even say it, and I was like, "How did I forget that?" So
well, Danielle, you'll forget it again sometime,
right.
And then you're going to forget other things, and you know, yeah, you do so many things well, and you have so much substance in what you take us through that you're going to forget something, and it's not going to make much of a difference.
Okay.
And you have a winning headband today.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I do.
And I think that would be a great way to start. I mean, I think somebody that knows you, that knows how important winning is to you, and if you told them, yeah, I'm working with this company called the Positive Coaching Alliance, they'd be like, come on, Danielle, seriously? Like, we're about winning. We know you. Why would you want to work with a company like that? I think that's a good way to intro, because there are people that do think we're anti-winning. So I think that whole why, like, why are you here? And I think that was the one thing too that I wrote down, that, and then I'm going to stop. The why for you was what I was missing a little bit. You know, I know you want to make it fun. You really got into the fun and all that stuff, but why are you here to share this message? And you would definitely put that in a workshop. That's just something I didn't hear today.
Yeah, so. I just forgot it. I even had it written down. I just
that's okay.
I don't
know.
And
then I'm going to throw out a caution as you try to add everything in and remember everything, especially with your opening.
Yeah.
Be cautious not to make that opening too long. Get to that Steve Young video or the Kevin Durant video if you're going to use that one. Get to that video and get us talking to each other about the coach that had the greatest impact on us within 5 minutes. Within 5 minutes. And if there's more than you want to say, then look for places later to work in those things.
Sure. Yep, I got that. That's clear. Thank you.
All right. Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, what's next?
Well, next, Ruben and I will debrief, but you did a fantastic job. The next step would be to get you out with a live audience, and I need to look at the schedule because you're in my area. So I would like to. There's actually not a whole lot of workshops coming up in the next. This is sort of our slow period, heading into the slow period, but I will keep an eye out for that, and I'd love to get you co-presenting part of a workshop with myself or another trainer in the area, just to see what you can do live, and then we'll go on from there.
All right, awesome.